Tonight's story is titled, She Found a Hidden Room in Her Apartment with Someone Still Living in It. What would you do if you discovered someone had been living in your home and they looked exactly like you? But here's the twist that'll make your blood run cold. They claim to be you from 30 years in the future. But before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, if you're wearing headphones, perfect. If not, you might want to put some on. Or you can lower the volume now, just enough so my voice blends gently with the stillness of your room. Close your eyes. Let your shoulders sink just a bit more into your pillow. You don't have to do anything. Just listen. Ooh. This is the story of Maya Chen, a 28-year-old graphic designer who thought she'd found the perfect apartment in downtown Portland. What she actually found was something that would shatter everything she believed about reality itself. And before you ask, no, this isn't some internet hoax or creepypasta. This happened. The police reports are real. The evidence is documented. And Maya? Well, Maya is about to tell you exactly what she experienced in apartment 4B. Let's rewind to 3 months ago. Maya had just landed her dream job at a tech startup and needed to find a place fast. The Portland housing market was brutal, but somehow she stumbled upon this gem, a spacious one-bedroom in the Pearl District for half the market rate. The landlord, Mrs. Patterson, was this sweet elderly woman who seemed almost eager to rent to Maya. Too eager, you might say. She handed over the keys with one strange request: don't go poking around where you don't belong. Day. Red flag number 1. But Maya was desperate. The apartment was gorgeous, exposed brick walls, huge windows, and here's the kicker, it was already furnished. Vintage furniture, art on the walls, even food in the fridge. Mrs. Patterson claimed the previous tenant had to leave suddenly and abandoned everything. Red flag number 2. For the first month, everything was perfect. Maya loved the place. The morning light streaming through those massive windows, the cozy reading nook, even the quirky vintage record player that came with the apartment. She posted Instagram stories constantly, showing off her lucky find. But then, the sound started. At first, Maya chalked it up to upstairs neighbors. Old building, thin walls, right? But here's the thing. She lived on the top floor. There was no apartment above her. The scratching happened every night around 2 a.m. Always the same pattern: scratch, scratch, pause, scratch, scratch, pause. Like someone was trying to communicate in Morse code. Maya did what any reasonable person would do. She complained to Mrs. Patterson. Mrs. Patterson says, "Oh honey, that's just the building settling. These old places make all sorts of noises. Nothing to worry about." But Maya wasn't convinced. She started investigating. She measured her apartment's ceiling height, 9 feet. Then she went outside and counted the floors. Something didn't add up. From the outside, there was clearly space for another floor. A hidden floor. Between her ceiling and the roof, there was at least 8 feet of unaccounted space. That's when Maya made a discovery that changed everything. 2 months into living there, Maya was rearranging furniture when she noticed something odd about the closet in her bedroom. The back wall seemed different. Hello. She pressed against it, and to her shock, the wall gave way slightly. It wasn't a wall at all, it was a false panel, painted to look like the back of the closet. Maya grabbed a flashlight and pushed harder. Behind the panel was a narrow staircase leading up into darkness. The air that wafted down was stale, like it had been trapped for years. But there was something else, the faint smell of lavender. The same perfume Maya wore every day. Against every horror movie instinct screaming at her to run, Maya climbed those stairs. What she found at the top was impossible. It was an exact replica of her apartment. Same layout, same furniture, same everything. But this version looked lived in. There were personal items everywhere, photos, clothes, books, and every single photo showed Maya's face. But they weren't her photos. In these pictures, Maya looked older. Her hair was streaked with silver, lines around her eyes. She was standing next to people Maya had never met, in places she'd never been. There was even a wedding photo, Maya in a wedding dress, next to a man she didn't recognize. That's when Maya heard the shower running. Someone was home. Maya's heart pounded as she realized she was trapped. The only way out was back down those stairs, but she'd have to pass the bathroom to get there. She could hear humming coming from behind the shower door, a song she recognized because she hummed it all the time. The water stopped. Maya dove behind the couch, pressing herself against the floor, barely breathing. She heard footsteps padding across the bathroom floor, the medicine cabinet opening and closing. Then, a voice that made her blood freeze. The voice is exactly like Maya's, but older, more tired. Older Maya says, "I know you're there, Maya. We need to talk." Maya stayed hidden, convinced she was hallucinating. But the voice continued. Older Maya says, "I'm you, sweetheart. I'm you from 30 years in the future. And I've been waiting for you to find me." Maya finally looked up, and what she saw destroyed her understanding of reality. Standing there, wearing a bathrobe Maya owned but had never seen before, was herself. Older, grayer, but unmistakably her. Same scar on the chin from falling off a bike at age 7. Same birthmark on her wrist that she'd never told anyone about. Same nervous habit of twirling her hair when anxious, which older Maya was doing right now. Older Maya says, "Don't be afraid. I know this is overwhelming, but I need to tell you something that's going to save both our lives." What happened next challenges everything we think we know about time, space, and reality itself. Older Maya sat down across from her younger self and began to explain. She spoke for 3 hours straight, and Maya recorded every word on her phone. What she revealed was both terrifying and impossible to ignore. Older Maya says, "This apartment isn't just rent-controlled, Maya. It's time-controlled. Mrs. Patterson isn't just a landlord. She's a guardian. This building sits on what scientists will discover in 2031 is a temporal anomaly." Older Maya showed her documents, newspaper clippings from the future, scientific papers that wouldn't be published for decades, personal mementos from a life Maya hadn't lived yet. Older Maya says every decision you make in the next 6 months will determine whether humanity survives what's coming. There's going to be an event, we called it the Cascade, where time itself starts to break down. According to Older Maya, the apartment building was one of several anchor points around the world where time remained stable during the Cascade. People who lived in these buildings became guardians, tasked with guiding their past selves to make the right choices. Older Maya says, "I've been living here for 15 years, waiting for you to move in. Mrs. Patterson has been doing this for 70 years. The woman before her did it for 50. We're all connected. Maya, we're all fighting to preserve the timeline." As if on cue, Maya's phone started buzzing with news alerts. A massive solar storm was approaching Earth, something that hadn't been predicted by any weather service. But Older Maya had known it was coming. Older Maya says, "This is the first sign. In exactly 72 hours, you're going to receive a job offer from a company called Temporal Dynamics. You have to take it. Maya, everything depends on it." Maya was skeptical until Older Maya showed her the email, an exact copy of one that would arrive in her inbox 3 days later, offering her a position she'd never applied for at a company she'd never heard of. Sure enough, 72 hours later, the email arrived word for word as Older Maya had predicted. Maya faced an impossible decision. Accept that everything she thought she knew about reality was wrong, or walk away and pretend none of this happened. She chose to stay and learn. For the next month, Maya split her time between both apartments. During the day, she lived her normal life. At night, she climbed those hidden stairs to learn from her future self. Older Maya taught her things that hadn't been discovered yet, quantum mechanics principles that wouldn't be published until 2035, historical events that were still years away, personal details about people Maya hadn't even met. Older Maya says, "The hardest part isn't learning to accept the impossible, Maya. It's learning to live with the knowledge that every choice you make ripples forward through time." Together, they mapped out a plan. Maya would take the job at Temporal Dynamics, where she'd work on projects that seemed like regular tech development but were actually laying groundwork for technologies that would stabilize time itself during the Cascade. But there was a catch. Older Maya says, "Once you fully commit to this path, there's no going back. You'll live the life I've lived, make the sacrifices I've made. You'll spend 30 years preparing for this moment, just like I did." Maya had 1 week to decide. accept her destiny and save humanity's timeline, or walk away and let the future collapse into chaos. The weight of literally everyone's future rested on her shoulders. On the last night before her decision deadline, something unexpected happened. Maya woke up at 2 a.m. to the sound of crying coming from upstairs. She rushed up to find older Maya sitting on the floor, surrounded by photographs of a life Maya might never live. Older Maya says, "I never told you about the cost, did I? About what we give up." Through tears, older Maya revealed the truth. By accepting this responsibility, Maya would never have a normal life. She'd never marry the man from the wedding photos. He was a fellow guardian who died during the early stages of the cascade. She'd never have children because her entire existence would be dedicated to preserving time itself. Older Maya says, "I've watched every person I could have loved live their lives without me. I've sacrificed every dream I had to ensure humanity has a future to dream in." But then older Maya showed her something else, video footage from the timeline where she'd said no. Cities in ruins. Time moving backwards and forwards randomly. People aging decades in minutes, others frozen in temporal loops. Humanity slowly dying as reality itself unraveled. Older Maya says, "This is what happens if you walk away. This is what happens if we fail." Maya made her choice. The next morning, she accepted the job at Temporal Dynamics. She signed the lease extension on the apartment, and she began the long journey toward becoming the woman who would one day wait 30 years to guide her younger self through the same impossible choice. Phone call rings. Maya says, "Hello, Temporal Dynamics? This is Maya Chen. I'm calling to accept your offer." That was 6 months ago. Maya still lives in apartment 4B. The hidden room upstairs is empty now. Older Maya completed her mission and faded into whatever comes next for Temporal Guardians. But Maya isn't alone. Mrs. Patterson visits sometimes, sharing stories of the Guardians who came before. And Maya has started preparing for the day when a confused, frightened young woman will move into the apartment below and begin hearing scratching sounds at 2 a.m. The cycle continues. The timeline holds. And somewhere in the future, humanity survives because one person was willing to sacrifice everything to save everyone. Maya keeps a journal now, documenting everything for the next Guardian. Her last entry reads, Maya says, "Time isn't linear. Love isn't either. I may never have the life I dreamed of, but I've given billions of people the chance to have theirs. Some sacrifices are worth making, even if no one will ever know you made them." The apartment building still stands in Portland's Pearl District, still offers below-market rent to the right person at the right time. Mrs. Patterson still interviews potential tenants with unusual care. And if you're ever walking past apartment 4B late at night, you might hear a familiar sound drifting from an upper floor that shouldn't exist. Time has guardians. Reality has protectors. And sometimes, the person saving the world looks exactly like you. The question is, if you found yourself in Maya's position, would you make the same choice? Would you sacrifice your dreams to save everyone else's future? Think about it. Because somewhere, somewhen, the Guardians are watching. And they might just be waiting for you.